Hello everyone and welcome to Global Outlook. I'm Mary Sitt. Today on our show we'll take you around the world, from a Houston crime lab to an H.C.C. dean who escaped to Vietnam and now runs a center of excellence. Plus we'll take a virtual trip to the other side of the world, to Bangladesh. First, have you ever watched CSI and wondered how the lab techs and scientists find clues that solve crimes? Here in Houston, we have the accredited independent Houston Forensic Science Center, which investigates forensic biology, latent prints, and controlled substances. Here to tell us more is the president and CEO, Dr. Peter Stout. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr.
Thanks.
Stout.
Happy to be here.
So tell me exactly what this lab does. It's sort of like the TV show CSI, they do all that?
Well, a little bit. I often refer to we're what happens when they hand something off the screen and in the next frame they bring it back. Really what we do takes 2 months and a whole lot more work.
Okay.
So we do all of the classical forensic type disciplines, from latent prints to digital and multimedia evidence to crime scene, the collection of the evidence at the crime scene, biology, toxicology work, all of those various things to support law enforcement here in Houston.
And who are your major clients?
Most of our work comes from Houston Police Department. Really, our client is the City of Houston and the citizens of Houston.
But you're independent from the City of Houston, right?
So we are a part of City of Houston. We're what's called a local government corporation.
Okay.
As Houston Crime Lab problems of the past couple of decades, part of how that was remediated was to take those forensic operations out of the police department and fold it into this quasi-private corporation.
So basically create a whole new entity.
Correct.
An independent one, independent from the Houston Police Department.
Correct.
And brought in new people to run this.
Correct. So we have an independent board of directors. It's a 9-member board of directors that's appointed by the mayor and it's approved by city council. We have our own budget. I'm a corporate officer. We run it as a corporation, so we control all of our hiring, all of our procurement, and all of the operations of the business.
Now, earlier you were telling me that in most court cases, criminal court cases, very few actually have hard evidence, the kind of evidence that you guys decipher in your labs.
Right. If you look across,
that's hard to believe.
All of court cases that are out there, really a minority of them have physical evidence. Now, some cases almost always do. So like you say, drug charge, that's dependent on the fact that you have drugs. So those always have some kind of physical evidence in them.
But let's say a murder case or...
Often there is, for like a murder, but you think aggravated assaults or other types of crimes, a lot of that, what goes to court is just good police work, it's eyewitness testimony, it's confessions, it's all of these other aspects.
Okay.
So really, I think most stuff doesn't even make it to court. A lot of stuff pleads out.
Okay. Do you deal only with the really serious type crimes then, in terms of looking for, the evidence of that? Or?
We do have some stuff that are misdemeanors, so say like driving under the influence of alcohol. That's a misdemeanor depending on levels and number of times. But most of what we deal with are things that come out of homicides and aggravated assaults and sexual assaults, drug charges. That kind of work is what we deal with.
And it takes quite a while then to tease out the evidence from the samples that you have?
We have gotten, so over the history of the laboratory, it has been much more backlogged. You hear that word a lot in forensics.
Because you inherited a lot of cases from the old HPD.
Right. And this is a challenge all across the country. Laboratories all across the country struggle with how do we get evidence processed correctly and in a timely fashion, because the sooner you get quality scientific results into the investigative process, the better it goes.
Because the faster you can solve the case.
The faster you can solve the case, the better the investigation works, because they have that objective information.
So how have you been able to reduce that backlog so far from the stuff you inherited?
A lot of it's hard work and a really good
long
staff.
Hours?
We have done a lot of re-engineering of processes. We've spent a lot of time, energy, and capital on re-engineering our processes.
We have some pictures here of the lab of people working, video.
So we've improved equipment that we've put into the laboratory. We've hired additional people.
This is like state-of-the-art.
A lot of it. We still, I find I tell the staff a lot. We've come a long way. I'm really pleased with where we've gotten, but I'm not satisfied yet. Okay. We still have a long way to go. We still have some backlogs. We have, our goal is to have everything that we're processing be under 30 days from the time that it's requested to the time that we provide the results. And we still have some places that we exceed that. We've got some places that we have been able to get well underneath that. So we're making progress.
That's good. Do you have one over another kind of evidence that you mainly work with? Like
if you look at just that last year we did about 35,000 requests.
35,000 requests?
Correct.
Okay. From HPD mainly?
From HPD.
Okay.
Almost exclusively from HPD. The largest numbers of it's not the majority, but the biggest single chunk is in controlled substances. That's very consistent across the country. Controlled substances are usually the largest load. Next after that is forensic biology, the DNA analysis. Toxicology is after that, and then latent prints.
What kind of processes do you have in place, Dr. Stout, to make sure everything is accurate and you keep the integrity of the evidence?
That aspect is one of the parts I'm actually probably proudest of what we've been able to do. So we have a separate division within the company that is dedicated to quality.
Okay.
They report to the executive level, so they are structurally separate from the operational
Is it like
side.
having auditors all the time?
Exactly, exactly. So they audit records, but they also are there to process and do what we call root cause analyses of any failures we have in the laboratory. Because we work with people, we work with processes. Stuff is going to go wrong. It's how we respond to that and how we rectify that that's the important part. But
and do they make sure that the people follow the process instead of skipping and shortcutting?
Yeah. Exactly, and maintaining all of our standard operating procedures, all of those aspects. And one of the things I'm most proud of is we have been able to implement, we still have work to do on this, what we call blind quality controls. So these are materials that we manufacture, we know what the right answer is, but they're inserted into the process so that the analysts don't know.
These are like pop tests.
Exactly, all the time, all the time.
And do the analysts actually like this because it makes their work look better because they're at a certain standard? They don't feel like someone's breathing down their neck. They like to have this sort of
It gives
control,
them a very easy answer in court when somebody says, how do you know you haven't done something inappropriate? It's like, well, I don't know whether I'm handling a case sample or a control. And we know we can watch those controls go through the system. We can test the whole system using those controls.
So it really validates their work, too.
Exactly, exactly.
And is this part of being being accredited? Do all accredited labs do this process?
No, actually we're, as near as I can tell, there's a few pockets of this in some disciplines, but as near as I can tell, we are the only ones in the country that are doing this as extensively as we are in as many disciplines. We have this running in toxicology, controlled substances, firearms, and we've just started doing in latent prints in biology.
You're the only lab that does this?
That extensively.
And that's because of you. It comes from the top,
I guess I think
that's
I
like
have
a passion for you to make sure everything is correct.
I think I have to claim some responsibility for that.
What are we looking at here? This is the toxicology.
That's toxicology work there.
How did you get involved in this field, toxicology, in the first place?
Well, toxicology, I suppose it was just a bit of luck. I have a master's in environmental engineering, and I started in a laboratory that was doing toxicology work, and I think that's how I ended up in toxicology specifically. But forensic work to me is a very personal thing, because when I was a child, my grandfather was murdered, and going through that, I was a very small child, so I really... You
were about 8 years old?
I was 7.
7.
So I have worked through my entire life understanding the consequences of that kind of trauma to the family. But as I've gotten older and I've dug into the case a little bit, I've understood there were complexities within how the case was tried, and there were failures in forensic science evidence in that. And
when this horrible tragedy occurred, when you were a little kid, did they know who did it, or they were looking for somebody, or?
Actually, the individual who probably committed the actual murder, he was later killed that evening by an ex-wife, so he was never part of the investigations. But there was another individual who was convicted of murder, and their charge was later overturned, in part because the physical evidence didn't work right. And actually some of the evidence that was involved in that we now know to be really pretty poor quality non-scientific evidence.
So you were sort of just drawn to this field, but you didn't really consciously understand why you were there until like years later? You figured, you know what, I bet it's because of that incident?
It has taken me a long time to understand, but I think it has given me a very personal reason for why this has to be right.
Right.
It's got to be right for the victims, it's got to be right for those who are accused and convicted, but it's also got to be right for all the people who have to believe that this system is going to treat them right. So anytime it fails, it's not just the people that are in that case that are let down, it's all the citizens around it.
It's the whole justice system of society, right? Failing some element of it. How has technology changed the field? And I'm sure it's rapidly changing.
It does. Some areas faster than others. But this is, at heart, a lot of this is small molecule chemistry and analytical techniques that you use there. It's biology is molecular biology technologies, and those are evolving. Probably one of the areas that evolves the most rapidly for us is multimedia evidence, how we handle cell phones and computers, and
you mean like recovering
information off of cell phones. Almost everything has some digital footprint to it anymore.
Oh no, and our whole life is on our cell phone now. It's scary.
Oh, right now I've probably got a terabyte's worth of storage on me.
Yeah.
So every crime now has some digital footprint. We find that many aggravated assaults and homicides have some video, and processing that video and processing it in a timely fashion so that there's investigative value, and then there's also value to the trial afterward.
What is your goal for this center, for Houston Forensic Center?
Oh.
What would you like it to be? What's your idea? What's your vision?
I saw on a lot at the staff about this is all about the right answer at the right time.
Okay.
The right answer late is no better than the wrong answer on time. So we have to find a way that we can get a timely, reliable result there for the citizens of Houston.
The right answer at the right time.
And I think we've made a lot of progress on that. We still have a long way to go. I'm pleased, but I'm not satisfied.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us and telling us all about it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Coming up next, a former refugee who fled war and today is the brains behind H.C.C.'s Material Science Center of Excellence. Stay with us.
You're watching H.C.C. TV from Main Street Studios.
Houston Community College has 14 centers of excellence, and one of them is called Material Science Center of Excellence, focusing on corrosion technology and welding at H.C.C. Southeast. It is one of the Gulf Coast region's leading providers of technical material science education. Please meet the dean of that center, Dr. Tam Lee. Dr. Lee, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me here.
Tell me exactly, what is corrosion technology?
Corrosion technology is an industry that focuses on protecting our infrastructure.
Okay.
And around the world, every country, every city have this kind of program in place to protect them. For example, you're talking about Flint, Michigan.
Yes.
You know, the situation
contaminated water, right?
With the contaminated water. So that city needs to have a kind of program in place. And if they don't follow that program closely, you know, unfortunately, things that can happen.
So the pipes were corroded?
Yeah, actually the internal profile is corroded, right, based on, because they're switching the water source. The water source has much more corrosive material in there.
In the water?
In the water, and that's what happened.
And then can the water be treated then so that when it flows through it's okay to drink?
Yeah, now they have to rebuild the infrastructure to make sure that on this pipe that be protected internally, not just outside. Okay. So corrosion is dealing with protecting infrastructure, protecting anything that we use that relate to steel.
Anything
or iron.
related to steel. And we have some video of some of the students who are actually learning this. How long is your program now?
Well, we have two types of certificate. One is a 1-year certificate, and we also have a 2-year degree as well.
Okay.
The 1-year certificate, the student can finish in full time for a couple of semesters.
That's great. Yeah. And they can learn both. They pick one or the other in 1 year and learn it.
Yeah, they pick one or the other.
Now this is the welding part?
Yeah.
So they actually have real life experience, on the job types experience, right?
Absolutely. And from this corrosion technology curriculum that we have, the student will learn about material science, learn about what structure in the iron, in the steel, and then how they apply the way to protect that. And there's two ways to protect it. Okay. One is a coating.
Like this, right?
First slide you find, they had to coat that, right? But the coating is not perfect, just like painting. Right. It's not perfect, and it will deteriorate over time as well. And then what they need to do is second, like fancy, what we call catalytic protection. That is another certificate that we have.
Like another coating over it. Okay.
Well, actually, the electricity principle to protect the pipe or to protect the structure, whether the pipe that's using underground or in the sea, you know, from the ridge coming into the shore, or even the metal frame building the bridges as well, or the road.
So the students have to learn a lot of science then to figure this out, right?
That's part of the beginning of the science, and this pathway. How it works. Yes, this pathway is growing. Students can start out as a 1 year certificate. They can go to 2 years, and now we are working on to have the pathway so it can cross over to a 4-year degree as well. So it's really a strong industry right now.
It's a lot of openings for jobs a lot of jobs. I understand that there's just a huge need for welders now. Is that right?
Yeah, welders is not a problem we have. There's a lot of need. The welder dealing with construction, building creation, right? So you see in the last 10 years, there's a lot of expansion in our business. You know, Harris County run as #1 in Texas for business expansion.
Really?
And then they also rank #2 in U.S. for that. So it's a lot of expansion, a lot of construction going on for the last 5 years, we can see here.
And anything you build with steel, that steel has to be protected with the corrosion technology and the
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. That need protected, and that's where our program coming in. Now we have corrosion technology, try to prevent and control the corrosion, because corrosion is a natural process. Right. There's no way to get around that. Right. It's a natural process. The only way we can do is to protect that and to control that.
Can you protect the steel that's already existing steel out there, like the bridges that are aging? Can you protect that so it doesn't corrode further, or is it only this protection stuff happens when you're making the steel and cutting the steel?
That's program need to be continuously. You know, within the city, within the owner of the pipeline. There's a new data coming out. From the American Road and Transportation Builder Association that come out this week. And basically in U.S. we had about 612,000 bridges, and about close to 10% of 55,000 that need to be fixed, need to be correct. They deteriorate badly.
Can you fix it, or do you have to just rebuild it? Or
there's a couple of ways. There's some that they can go back and fix that, or some that they had to be building a new one.
So it's your students who are the ones who are actually out there fixing bridges, right?
Our student will be coming out first to become an inspector or a technicians. And what they can do, they working with these builder or working with the energies owners like Shell and Halliburton and Exxon and Mobil, to work on installing the new pipeline. Okay, and while they're installing, they need to incorporate the prevention methodologies in there at a time.
Dr. Lee, do students who graduate from your program get jobs immediately because they've been so well trained and you know exactly what the companies need? Yeah,
currently there's a lot of demand for that on the catalytic protection, which is going to protect, actually measure the deterioration rate, and also make sure that on the system to protect the pipeline or the refinery, maintain its integrity as well. So they would start. Right now we have we look at the data from NACE, which is National Association of Corrosion Engineers. They're right here in Houston, and the data is saying that we have a lot of many workforce that now retiring. So we need a pipeline that coming in. That's where a new technician, new inspector, new engineer should be coming in to replace it, and also learn from them the knowledge and how to protect the infrastructures. And the infrastructure is, because corrosion is in U.S. alone is about $1.5 trillion annually.
Let's talk about your backstory. You have a fascinating story of how you came to this country. You were 16 years old, and your life, it was the end of the war in Vietnam, 1975. Your life changed in 15 minutes. Tell me what happened.
Yes, I still remember that day. That day is at, this is about the 26th of April, 1975. And that's the day that my sister come to my house with my father, everybody there, and my sister say, "Dad, I have one slot that I can take Cam with me."
One slot for the helicopter.
One slot,
to evacuate you from Vietnam,
to evacuate,
right?
because she working for U.S. Embassy at the time as translator. So she got a certain amount of family member to be evacuated for that program. So she come to my house, and that's my father have about 15 minutes to decide, let me go.
Which kid, and how many children were there in the family?
In my family, my dad and my parents have 11 kids.
11 kids.
I am number 9. I still have two younger sisters.
So he could have picked any number of people and said, take this person or that person, right?
Yeah, it's in a way, because there's only 2 boys in my family. And my older brother only in the army at the time. So my father always put a lot of, I would say, promises.
Expectations, right?
Expectations into me. And that's where my sister come and say, let have Tam go with them.
And so that must have been very sort of scary for you. You were saying goodbye to your family, your home, your country, and what did you pack?
Yeah, I just had one pair of clothes with my shoes. And that's it. And maybe just a set of underwear in my small bag, and that's it. I have 15 minutes to go. And my dad made so quick decisions, and I was 16, pretty young. Things go so quick that I really didn't realize how quick it go.
Right.
But then I realized that my mom later on come to U.S. in 1978. She explained to me that after I left, my father, 15 minutes later, he cried.
Oh, and you were able to see him again, right?
Yeah, he came here in 1986 in U.S. and he be able to stay with us for a couple of years before he passed away.
It wasn't an easy journey for you. Did you know much English at all when you came over here?
Well, when I first came here, I didn't speak English.
You did not speak any English?
I learned French most of my time in high school.
Okay.
But English, I learned a little bit in English.
What would you say were the biggest challenges you overcame as an immigrant and as a refugee?
I think as a refugee, I come here by myself with my sister, and none of us know what to do.
Right.
None know what to do, and my focus is education, because I know my father put a whole lot of education in our family. So my first is education, and I start out in community college. Because I cannot community college.
Isn't
in
that
Dallas,
interesting? Full circle now.
In Dallas.
Now you run one.
Absolutely, absolutely. And at the time, I could not be accepted to a 4-year because my English is not there. My SAT score too low.
Right.
I couldn't pass the TOEFL requirement.
Right.
And so I came. The only way I can go with community college to learn more English. And I was lucky, a community college system was there. So I'm homegrown. And
now you have a PhD.
Yes, and education is still in my mind. So I complete my electrical engineer in 1983, and then I go back and try to complete my MBA in 1997.
Very quickly, if you had to give one piece of advice to your students, knowing your own story, what you went through, what would you tell your students who are trying to achieve their goal and their dream?
If you have the will, there's a way. If you had a will, there's a way, and that's what I did. I go back door. You go to back door, but there's a back door for you to go to, and that's what I did. Find a way.
Very good, Dr. Lee. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Coming up next, we'll meet one of the best and brightest from Bangladesh, a South Asian country to the east of India. She's a feature filmmaker studying here at H.C.C. Stay with us.
You're watching H.C.C. TV from Main Street Studios.
In this segment, we'll take a virtual trip to the other side of the world, all the way to South Asia. One of the most densely populated countries in the world is Bangladesh, to the east of India and on the Bay of Bengal. It's a country with lush greenery and many waterways where travel by boat is common. Our guest today is an international student from Bangladesh, Rehana Parvin, who's studying filmmaking here at HCC. Thanks for being with us, Rehana.
Nice. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, Bangladesh, as most people, we sort of know it's near India. Can you tell us a little bit about your country?
Yeah, we are surrounded by India from 3 sides, and one side is Myanmar. But everybody think actually that we are India.
And you are not India.
We are not.
Tell me how you're different from India.
We are different from India from so many sides, but yes, there are so many similarities also, because we were used to be one country.
Right.
But there are lots of difference. Our language is different, our culture is different. There are some similar cultures, rituals, but still we are different. And 85% of the people of my country is Muslim.
We have pictures, so let's take a look at some of the pictures from your country.
That's the national flag of my country.
Okay.
And this is the capital, Dhaka. And this is called rickshaw, which is a very traditional transportation system.
This is a typical street scene. It's that crowded all the time, right?
Very, very crowded. And this is Kagra Chori, and
beautiful.
It's hill tracks. Yeah, so beautiful. That's a lake, I think, First Lake.
So people do travel by boats a lot?
Yes, because we have thousands of rivers.
And these are little kids playing with and showing off the flag, right?
Yeah, mustard field. And this is the Bangla New Year. Everybody's celebrating with, you can see huge enthusiasm.
Is that the same thing as our New Year here, on New Year's Day, January 1st, or different
No,
calendar?
It's different.
Okay.
It's April 14th, the first Bangla month called Boishak, and the first day of Boishak is Bangla New Year.
Is it one day or a week-long celebration?
1 day.
1 day. And here's a rice paddy, is that right?
rice paddy in the field, everybody. This is tea garden, it's in Sylhet, called Shumango, and they are traditional, I mean, they are the tea worker. This is traditional food, curry, we call beef, chicken, whatever.
Now, is your food different from Indian food? Or
Yeah, we have
dishes?
different foods, very, very different foods from India, and similar also. Few foods are similar.
But I bet you get tired of being lumped in as, oh, it's just like India.
Yes,
it is
yes.
You have a beautiful sari. Can you stand up and model it for us?
Definitely.
And now tell me how this is different from Indian sari.
Because India cannot make this.
Okay.
This is totally different material. The way they make and the people that make it, it can produce only by my country. India cannot produce it.
It's all handmade.
Yeah, all handmade, and we produce it and we export it to India.
And you said the material is a little bit heavier or just different?
Yeah, it's different. Not too much heavy, but it's different. But the way they make it, it's totally different.
And it's all handmade.
Yeah, it's all handmade.
It is beautiful.
Thank you so
and
much.
You wear the sari on special occasions only or traditional times?
Special occasion, and like our generation don't wear it every time, but our mother and our grandmothers, they wear it every day.
You wear jeans, right?
Yes.
But on special family occasions or weddings or special festivals?
Like Bangla New Year festival, everybody will wear white and red. Okay. That's a symbol.
Now, you were telling me earlier you're one of 3 children. You're the middle child, right?
Yes.
And this is the first time in the States.
Yes.
What's your impression of the United States so far?
My impression for the United States, it's so good. Sometimes it's when I came here, I was homesick, but after that, I learned a lot from U.S. culture, their everyday life, and from
You said we follow the rules.
Yes, yes.
Is it a little more flexible from where you are?
Yes, from my country. In my country, we are like we have a bad habit of denying, rules, law.
Like traffic rules.
Yeah, traffic rules. Very disorganized. But here, you don't need. I never saw a traffic police.
Okay.
Just everybody's following the ruls. What they should do, they are doing. So that's why there is no traffic problem. But in my country, nobody will.
You're studying filmmaking.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me what you're learning here.
I'm learning here lots of things: audio, audio production, and production management, and script writing, TV field production. Because filmmaking is not only filmmaking, and it's a huge, huge field. I need to learn a lot, and I think this short period of time is not enough to learn enough.
It gives you sort of an introduction, a taste for it, right?
Yeah.
And what would you like to do eventually? What's your career goal when you go back to Bangladesh?
Yes, I would love to. I mean, that's my goal, that I want to establish myself as an independent filmmaker, and I want to contribute to my country, to my community, through my films, because my film industry is not that much developed, and we don't have a good identity because, again, we have India and they have Bollywood.
Right.
Yes, so we are so much influenced by that. But besides
that, you want to do something independent of that kind of
yes,
thing, right?
We have so many things to show, and I want that to give an identity, to make a difference.
And because it's a young industry, you could really influence it, right?
Yes.
Are there certain topics that interest you, what you would like to focus on?
Yes, there are so many topics, social topics, like women, children. Every day, I mean, whatever I see, I think about a story. I think to show that. And, I mean, there are lots of stories every time, everywhere.
In your community,
moment.
right around in your community, there are stories to tell.
There are lots of stories in my community.
And develop films, short films, start out with?
Short films. First, maybe I will start with the short films, and then I will make my...
Rihanna, if you had to let us know one thing about your country, what do you want us to know about Bangladesh? What should be our takeaway?
I would love to know that it's a very beautiful country, and we are hospitable. So hospitable.
So come visit.
Come visit us. Yes.
Very nice. Rihanna, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with your studies. Check us out every Friday and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m., plus Saturday at 10. I'm Mary Sitt. Thanks for joining us.